chronic illness. It drives 70% of the total healthcare budget. And the kinds of things that are in these executive orders will help reduce that incidence of chronic disease, because it turns out that about the most patriotic thing you can do these days is to get healthy. It will dramatically allow our nation to be as healthy as it can be, and it feels a heck of a lot better to be healthy than the alternatives. So how are we going to do this? I wrote down 3 ideas that came out of the executive orders. The first is walking. Little stat to come in handy at dinner tonight. If every American walked 20 minutes, exercised 20 minutes a day, broke a little sweat, it would probably reduce our healthcare budget, the part that I'm especially worried about at CMS, by about $100 billion. These aren't small rounding errors. These are massive ways of addressing the challenges that we face. The President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition that I was honored to be a part of in the first Trump administration, actually created by Secretary Kennedy's uncle, John F. Kennedy, is a good example of how we can do this well. I learned on that committee that the number one thing we often lack in communities are coaches. It's an action step. We should make it easier to mentor young people. I'll come back to that theme. Second big topic, nutrition. Quite a few of these executive orders touch on that reality. I'll give you a little tip that I learned years of studying nutrition science. It turns out that the most healthiest way to address food is to eat food that looks the way it looks coming out of the ground. That's like a simple way of memorizing what makes sense. That's why butter is better than hydrogenated oils, because it doesn't matter if butter might cause other issues. It's real food. Your body knows what to do with it. It's a home game. So we need to get everyone to understand the power of food. And to do that, we need to get parents and teachers and physicians and other health providers to understand it as well. The executive order that insists that to get credentialed, you have to learn nutrition if you're a doctor is critical. When I was in medical school, there was no nutrition class. I actually ran for student body president and won on that campaign promise, and we started one. Today in America, most medical schools do not teach nutrition. Why does that matter? Because if you go to 4 years of medical school and bust your tail and learn everything, and nutrition wasn't on the docket, what is that message to you? It doesn't matter. It's not important. If it was critical, you would have been taught it, because you learned everything else you needed to learn in medical school. If nutrition is not on the agenda, not in the syllabus, it's not really important for you. And I believe that we should empower folks, and the executive orders will do just that, to be able to navigate nutrition, and we have plans at CMS to make that easier. Finally, community involvement. The number one driver of an expensive patient is a patient without another person in their life. I'll say that again. Loneliness ends up driving a lot of the pathology that we then have to deal with in the healthcare system. The way you deal with that is by having community groups that work together well. One of the executive orders encourages schools to get young people to become educated about health, but I'll tell you from personal experience, they also become activists in a good way when they're healthy. We started a foundation with my wife 20 years ago, and have done very well across the country, touching the lives of millions of young people doing just this. And when I go into these schools, as I hope many of you will, and you look at the eyes of these young people, sometimes it looks like the light's gone out. They just want to have a belief that they matter. And so after having done this a lot, I'm confident this executive order will make a difference, because it'll get young people to believe they have agency over their future. And if they do that, if they have mentoring programs that support them, that are out there, then we'll have a unique ability to allow this system to spread like wildfire, because young people want to be connected, they want to be in community, and they're right now being atomized and ostracized.